Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me just double check, make sure my volume is totally up. Some things that I probably should have done before, but want to make sure you guys can hear me. So let me make a couple quick adjustments. Yep, the volume was not all the way up. And then I also want to make sure that, there we go. All right, here we go again, guys. Good morning, everyone. My name is Byrd, and I am a self-taught sewist. I'm curvy. I love dopamine. Colors are my jam. If you're following, you know that I sew a multitude of different types of things, from fur-lined coats to leather pants, leather skirts, leather bombers. I guess I like leather. Denim, I like to upcycle. I've done some swimwear. Swimwear I need to work on a little bit more for the fit, especially for the top. But I'm self-taught. I've been doing this for about 3 years. So the time that we have together, I'm really going to be focusing on sewing and hopefully be able to ignite your love for sewing or reignite your love for sewing. But also what we're doing here today is we are sewing up Marcia Spencer's Kishi B Style is where she is on all of the social media sites. And this is Nomi pattern 2054. And we are sewing up View B, which are these really cute, trendy cargo pants. This will be the third third pair of pants that I've made. The first pair, faux leather. Oh, they're gorgeous. They are gorgeous, but they're faux leather, which means that, I'm going to want to wear them for special occasions. But I love the pants so much that I made a second pair that you can see hanging on the door behind me in a linen, using a Minerva.com fabric, which I love because then I could wear them for everything, going out to lunch, brunch, running to the mall or whatever. And today I am making these cargo pants out of this really gorgeous, vibrant Ankara fabric, which is a very structured cotton. And I think it will be a really good complement to the ones that I've already made. Let me tell you a little bit more about the pattern. So the pattern, first off, there are two parts to two different views on the pattern. You can make the sweatshirt, which I am holding until the fall because I have switched to all spring and summer makes. I'm going to hold this one to the fall. I really love those shoulders here. I love that drama. But these cargo pants, guys, they have gusset pockets, which kind of sets them out. You can see that kind of 3D dimension there. They have this diagonal front fly and a tie closure with D-rings. So, and the pockets are on the back as well. Today's version, I am not going to be doing all of the pockets. I'm going for a simpler view. You can also see that there are ties at the ankles, and I won't be doing the ties at the ankles. I will be doing just kind of like a flare leg. So totally different kind of vibe, but it's this diagonal fly that keeps bringing me back to these pants. The fit is very forgiving. The sizing is spot on. I highly recommend this pattern. I'll tell you as I'm going through the pattern some of the things that I like and some of the things that I don't particularly like, but obviously I love the pattern because this is the third time that I'm making it. So for today, what are the different things that you'll need? I have some pins to hold fabric together. I'm also someone who likes to use clips. I have a point turner, which is really great for getting those corners of my pockets really sharp and really clean. I'm using duckbill scissors, which helps me to cut my seams, to grade my seams, reduce any bulk in the seams. I have these spring action little clippers, which are great because they're easy on the hands, but they really get in there close to get those extra little pieces of thread. I have this little turner, forgive me, again, I'm 3 years into this. I don't know all the terminology, but I'm sure that you can relate, right? So I have this little I don't know what you call it, elastic turner, or basically when you need to turn out a belt or something like that, or a tie, you use this to help you do that. So I have that. Um, for the pattern pieces, I'm going to put those things off to the side. So for the pattern, there are a lot of pattern pieces for this particular pattern. I want to say there are about 19 individual pattern pieces. So take your time, make sure that you set aside time to cut everything out and to make sure that you're interfacing the right things. We won't cut out anything today. I did that beforehand. We're going to focus on the sewing piece of it. And I have all of my pieces cut out, and the pieces that I could serge beforehand, I did. Some serging I will do here with you because it just made sense based on the construction of the cargo pants. I am my notions. You need 2 of these D-rings. I believe it's like an 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches. So I'm using these D-rings that I had in my stash. You need a 7-inch zipper, and I think this goes nicely. You don't see the zipper, so honestly, if you don't have a zipper that closely matches the color of your fabric for this particular make, I don't think it's really a big deal. It's based on personal preference. So I have that zipper. This, by the way, I got from Wawak. Their zippers, I think, are really great quality, and the price is always right. Also from Wawak is this double-sided basting tape. And I like to use that when I'm putting on zippers. You can certainly use clips or pins. This to me works perfectly, and I can put the zipper on very quickly. So I'll show you how I do that. Put those notions off to the side. I am sewing today on my Pfaff Quilt Ambition 630. I love this sewing machine. It is, it's my workhorse. It's what I do most of my sewing on. I recently won a Pfaff serger, so I'll tell you about that. And then for my serger today, ooh, got a little dust there. I'm using the Bernina L860, which I love as well. Both really great brands. Let's get to it, guys. Okay, so the first part of the pattern, so after doing your interfacing, the next thing is that we need to reinforce the right front, which is pattern piece 12, through the large dot. So before you begin to sew, make sure that you have transferred all of your notches. I'm going to move these to my table behind me. Okay. So pattern piece 12, it's the right front. It's only one of these because this is that right front where you have that diagonal kind of wrap fly. And there I've transferred my marking. So that little blue dot is where the marking is. And I'm just going to kind of stitch along the seam line there using a shorter stitch because I want to kind of shore up that area and provide a little bit more structure. So I'm reinforcing that. And so let me go ahead and just go through that with and the reason why is you're going to need to cut into that. So you want to make sure that you don't end up cutting your fabric. So I'm just going to reinforce that dot. And then I'm going to grab the fly facing. And I had these organized. Here we go. So fly facing is pattern piece 14. So with the fly facing, and I'm going to turn you down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. One of the things that you can do when you are watching this, because after the live today, I am going to post everything on YouTube. As you're going through the sew along, if there are particular pieces of the sew along that you need additional help, feel free to just fast forward to those. Feel free to back up and go back to it again. That's pretty much what I do if I'm running into a sticky part of the pattern. All right, so I have to think about where this piece actually goes and which is the outside, because that's important. And then I'm going to place the facing, right sides facing on the facing, notching up those matching up those notches there. Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining. Good morning. If you are new to me, my name is Byrd, and I'm a self-taught sewist. I've been doing this for about 3 years. I really love it. And I'm sewing up today a pair of spring cargo pants. They're really fun. I think they're really trendy. And what I'm using to sew those up is Nomi pattern ME2054. So this particular view. And let me see if I can see the comments here. Okay, there we go. So thank you guys so much for joining, making sure that I'm matching up that notch there that I reinforced. So just making sure, because I shortened the waist on this a little bit because I am short-waisted and I don't think I shortened my fly, so my fly facing. So I'm just making that little adjustment here and making sure that that blue notch that I drew on there is lined up. It's a 5/8 seam allowance, which is basically what you have for all of the big five patterns. And the big five patterns are Simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, Nomi, of course, and Vogue. Those are your basic big five patterns. I paused for a minute because I wanted to just say that when you start stitching, you want to also make sure that you backstitch just a little bit to reinforce the seam. And then the instructions have us going all the way down and stopping at the notch. Back stitch at that notch. Just double checking to make sure that I indeed got there. Seems like my notch is a little bit further out than I expected. So I'm just doing a little bit of double checking here. Okay. All right, the next thing that we need to do is understitch the fly facing, turn the facing to the inside. So when you're understitching, you want to turn your seam toward the fly, and understitching is just that we're going to stitch very close to that first seam, but only on the fly side, only on the fly facing side. And what that does is really helps to keep the fly from flipping forward. It kind of really does hold it in place. And then we're going to press. I really do love these little spring action clippers. I'm going to go right over here to my ironing station. And I'm going to press that facing toward the wrong side. Give it a little good press here, a little bit of steam. Hopefully you can see me here. Okay. So that is effectively the fly piece that goes here, that goes across the body. Okay. The next thing, pin the left front to right front. So we need to get pattern piece number 13. Oh, I forgot to say that I like this to sew in digestible chunks. So what that means is today I'm going to do as much as I can in about a 2-hour span of time, because let's face it, as human beings, our attention span, it is limited. And I know that other people have things to do. So I'm going to sew for about 2 hours this morning, get as much done as I possibly can. And if we don't get it all done, then I'm going to come back and finish it up. I am also planning to make a matching top using a seam work pattern that is Aronica Cole's seam work pattern. So I'm going to be doing that during part 2 anyway. Okay, so let's see. Pin the left front 13 to the right front, matching seams and notches. Did I catch that wrong? No, there we go. It seems to me that I caught that a little bit off. So let me double check. Small little details do indeed matter. And to me, that feels a little bit off, and I would not want my fly to be off. So let me just take another little moment here to figure out why that is a little bit off. I'm going to unpick that a little bit because I want to make sure that it lays flat. So I guess it doesn't feel right if you don't pull out your seam ripper at some point during your project. And if you are new to sewing, or even if you're not new to sewing, I recommend that you name your seam ripper. Mine is called Superwoman. That might sound kind of corny, but that's what it is. Because I'm telling you, get comfortable with your seam ripper, because from time to time you will have to pull it out. Okay, that looks better to me. And I'm going to go back and press that again. Yeah, if in doubt with what you are making, take your time and go back and clean it up. I think that's really important. Still looks a little bit off to me, like when I put my other, and I'm wondering why. Did I go too close up on the facing? It still just feels like it should be laying a little bit better than that. So I am going to unpick this a little bit more. And I didn't run into this at all with the other two that I've made. So what I'm guessing is because I shortened my waist and did not shorten the rise of the facing, that's why I'm running into this. So let me just unpick it a little bit. Make sure she lays properly. This is an important piece. And today I have my camera turned on a little bit differently, so I'm still trying to figure out how to see comments. Okay, good. All right. Drop in the chat for me where you are watching. You know, where are you in this beautiful world? Love to hear from you. Ankara fabric is really such great fabric to work with. Okay, so unpick that a little bit. Let me get I did understitch it, so that requires me pulling the understitching out. Sometimes when you have to go back and make a correction to what you've sewn or whatever, it can be really incredibly frustrating. But as I've mentioned before, it is so important, and it's okay. It is absolutely okay. And I'm having to unpick more of this than I thought because of the understitching piece, but that's okay. This past weekend, I went to Texas for my first ever sewing retreat, and I'm really still on a high from it. Just so amazing. You know, it was 25 beautiful women at this retreat. They all brought different projects that they wanted to work on, and it was just so beautiful. So, so, so beautiful. Making sure this time to make sure that my dot is lined up, and I'll tell you more about that retreat. All right, let me take it over to the ironing board and see if that solved the problem. Press the fly facing toward the inside of the garment. Because that piece really should be completely loose. And I'm wondering if I went too far down on the fly. My apologies, guys, that we are spending the time working on this, but it definitely should lay better than it is. So we're going to get it right. It's so great when your fabric, your thread matches your fabric so nicely. Didn't mean to get that piece. So the sewing retreat. The sewing retreat was really great. It was in Texas with like-minded sewists of all different levels. See, that looks better. So I need to unpick a little bit more. For some reason, I sewn it too far down. So I want to, so it looks so much better now. So the way it's just laying nicely there now, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, so the sewing retreat in Texas, on Instagram, there is a community called Sorority. It's S-E-W, Rority, R-O-R-I-T-Y. And it's not like a regular, fraternal college sorority or fraternity where you have to do you have to pay a whole bunch or do a lot of things to become part of the organization. You just basically become part of the organization by posting and participating and attending events and different things like that. And it's really a great opportunity for sewists and creatives to be with other people. And so here at this retreat, which was about an hour outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, maybe about 50 minutes outside, unbeknownst to me, it's a very huge in Dallas, Fort Worth. There's a very large, there she is. There's a very large sewing community there, pretty much a quilting community. And so this retreat center in Dallas, Fort Worth, or outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, I think it was in an area called Aubrey. The sewing retreat had nice rooms. There were twin beds, so you had to share it, but I was with a really great, had a fabulous roommate. Your meals are catered except for the time that we went out fabric shopping. And when we went out fabric shopping, we also stopped to have lunch while we were out. The fabric shopping was amazing. I actually posted a video sharing the things that I picked up and what it was like to go fabric shopping there and that sort of thing. And it worked out. I mean, it was just so much fun, guys. It was Thursday to Sunday and just complete dedicated sewing time. The room where you sew was really nicely appointed with decent sized tables and all of those different kinds of things. And it was perfect. It was perfect. If you wanted to get up at 3 a.m. and so you could get up at 3 a.m. And there were people who did that. If you wanted to stay up until 3 a.m. and so you could stay up until 3 a.m. and so really, really, really great. So now I know that seam is good. I'm just going to go back over it and then make sure it's neat. Don't have to do any more unpicking. But it was so good, guys. I actually sewed way longer than I normally do at home. At home, I'm the type of person that once the sun goes down, I really don't want to sew anymore. At that point, it's for me, it's, you know, I'm done. I like the sun, the pure sunlight. All right, so that is much better. I was looking for that little curve for it to lay flat. We're there. I'm glad I took the time to unpick it. So having done that, I am now moving on to the next step, which is pattern piece 13, which I only needed to cut one and I cut two. So let's make sure. And for pattern piece 13, I'm going to lay right sides facing. So let's turn that over. Turn you guys back down so you can actually see that. Right sides facing. And then we're lining up the raw edges. Stitch between the large dots and the notch, okay? So lining up all my raw edges here. I am going to get a better, actually I bought a better tripod, so you guys will actually I'll be able to angle this more. All right, so I'm lining up the notch that's at the top here. So that's important, that little notch right there. And then I'm lining up the raw edges here, as well as that notch down there. I'm going to pin a couple places, holding it in place. I have my little notch here in blue that hopefully you can see that. And what it has me doing is sewing from this little notch down to, from this little dot down to this little notch that is right there. Following the seam allowance all the way down and around to that little notch, and then back stitch there. We're at the point that we are about to put in the zipper. This little crotch area here, definitely the notches are off. So I need to bring that down a little bit. I didn't have this problem at all with the first two pair that I made, and I think it is because I did shorten the waist. And when I shorten the waist, of course the notches are going to be a little bit off at that point. So a little bit to be expected. And I know that it's a little bit off because when I pull it out like this, it really should lay flat, and it did not. So I'm going to lower that a little bit. Pretty much as I had to do on the other, on the right front. Making sure that I'm only getting the thread and not any of my fabric. And I did back stitch, so it makes it a little bit harder to get in there. So at the sewing retreat, there were some amazing sponsors. They had Ditto, and that was the first time that I had an opportunity to cut out a pattern using a projector. and it was way easier than I thought it would be. And the ditto prices dropped significantly. So if you were in the market looking for a projector, you may want to check out the ditto. I only used it the one time. I found that it was pretty easy. I don't know all of the ins and outs about it. I do know that they have they're running a special, I think, right now for their accompanying program. And the reason why that is important is because you get access to lots of ditto patterns. And so I think they're running a special right now. Don't quote me, but I want to say that I believe it's free right now. All right, so it's almost, I need to take it down a little bit more. And then the other sponsor that was, that supported the event was Oliso. I have an Oliso iron. I really like my Oliso iron because it's a full-size iron. It retracts, it lifts, it has a foot that lifts the iron away from your fabric and ironing board when you take your hand off of it. Because, you know, if you leave it down, you can end up burning your fabric, and sometimes we make those kind of mistakes. So they were there as well, and they had these really great sewing stations. Okay, so that looks really good. So let me go ahead and reinforce that piece. They had these ironing stations, the Oliso full-size irons. I really love the Oliso iron, and I do recommend it. And speaking of Oliso irons, on Instagram currently right now, I am running a International Women's Month giveaway, y'all. So free stuff. All that you need to do is go to Instagram, look for Yoga Byrd Sews. I actually have the link in my bio here on YouTube, and I'll drop it below when I post this later. But on Instagram, I'm doing a giveaway, and the giveaway in honor again of beautiful, amazing, empowered women from all over the world. I have two great sponsors. One of them is Oliso, and Oliso will be giving away a free full-size Oliso iron. And I don't know the color. I think it might be yellow, but I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter about the color. They're all amazing. And it will be shipped to you free in the US or in Canada. I have another amazing sponsor, which is Minerva.com, and they are giving away $50, $50 gift certificate that can be used toward exclusive fabric. And their exclusive fabric is amazing. It's part of the, if you can see, the pants that are on the door back there, that's Minerva fabric. If you follow and you're looking at any of my makes, many of them are Minerva fabric. And so good opportunity to win an iron or to win free fabric. So Oliso, that giveaway is anywhere in the US and Canada. The Minerva fabric is anywhere worldwide, whether you are in Australia or the UK or anywhere in the US, Asia, you name it. They're going to be able to ship that to you. All right, so I want to check to make sure that that looks good. And it does. I love, let me turn you down so you can see that. It's hard to tell because the Ankara is very bright and colorful, but it looks good. So that crotch opening right there looks really good. I'm super happy with it. I'm glad that I unpicked it a little bit. Now I'm going to actually give that a little bit of a press. I'm at the point that I'm off camera for a moment. I'm just at my pressing station, and I will be right back. Just hitting that for a moment. I'm going to grab my zipper. Okay. We are now at the point of installing the zipper. So that's the way that that will look across. That looks good down here. I need to press that little bitty piece in there. Let me hit that real quick. It's the details for me, guys. You wouldn't even notice this down here because of the pattern on the fabric. You wouldn't even notice that little piece that I needed to iron, but it matters to me. Get rid of some of these extra threads. Okay, so that is the front crossover fly. So it took me a few extra minutes to get it the way that I like it, but I do like it. And okay, I'm going to grab my zipper. And the first thing that we need to do is lift this up, and you're going to place the zipper. Let me double check. So it's face up under the left front. No, it isn't. It isn't like that. It should be honestly face down. So let me double check my work on what I'm doing. I always do that anyway. So I believe it should be face down here, and then when it gets flipped over, so you guys can see what I just did. I kind of pinned it to make sure I was putting the zipper in first. That's one of the things that I will do. So once I sew it down, face down, as I flip it over, this is what it's going to look like. And does it have me actually doing it on top? No, it actually has me pressing this piece down first. So let me go ahead and press that piece down. Okay, let me press this piece down. All right, making sure that everything lays properly before moving on. Okay, I think that is a little bit too much. All right. Going to again lay it so that I feel comfortable with it before installing the zipper. All right. That looks good. This, at this point, gets placed under the zipper face up on the left front. All right, so this will be placed here underneath this side. I'm going to pull my zipper down a little bit because I may end up shortening the waist, so I want to make sure that I can. So before putting the zipper on, you can actually pin your zipper in place. I like using this two-sided tape. So what I'm going to do is place the two-sided tape starting at the top of the tape. I'm going to place the tape down on my zipper tape, on the zipper edges here. Cut off the extra. Press that down really well. And what I like about this two-sided tape is it doesn't gum up and screw up your needle or anything like that. All right, so let's peel off the top of the tape here. And as I peel off the top, you can just see the little glistening piece, and that is the two-sided tape there. I'm going to take my time starting at the top where I want to basically place it, because I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room here, because I do end up having to shorten the waist sometimes. So laying it where I think I want it, bringing the fabric right along the teeth of the zipper, and just kind of pressing it down as I go along. Okay. And then I'm going to switch on my Pfaff Quilt Ambition 630 to my zipper foot. So I'm going to switch to my zipper foot, pop off my regular sewing foot. tap on the zipper foot. Tilt you guys over so you can see this. All right, go ahead and place this on. You can unzip this too if you want to get it out of your way. It's really not bothering me any. And you can move the placement of your needle over so you can get closer to the edge of the, or close to the zipper teeth. And the first time through, okay. All the way down. Okay. And we have installed one side of the zipper. I didn't even baste it on because it was really easy to get on. I am going to make sure I get all the way up at the top and backstitch there. So the left side of the zipper has been installed. Get rid of any extra hanging threads. You wouldn't want them to get caught up in your zipper teeth. Okay. I do think at this point I should put on my zipper guard. So the zipper guard, or what Marcia calls the zipper facing, I call it the zipper guard, was not included in this particular pattern. This is an easy piece that you can make by just measuring your zipper. She also, if you watched her live so long, she gives you a link where you can actually get this pattern from her this pattern piece from her website. But generally speaking, it is about 9.5 inches long and about 3 inches wide. I actually made mine a little less wide because I didn't feel like I needed that extra material there. And all that you do with that zipper guard is just place it, line it up with the top, and just place it behind the zipper that you just installed. I'm going to pin this down. And why, you may ask, would you need I'm gonna move it out just a little bit more too. Why would you need a zipper guard? So a zipper guard protects those private soft parts. So when you're zipping your pants up and down, you don't by mistake end up zipping up the private soft part. So the zipper guard is an important thing. All that you have to do here to install the zipper guard is pretty much just sew again, either right on top or alongside the seam that you just put in to put your zipper in. So it's a really easy install. And again, it's so easy to make. I did put interfacing in mine, just one side, all the way down. We will tack that in a little bit later. Let's get rid of any extra threads. Okay, then at this point, let's go back to the instructions to make sure I don't go off grid, because I am known to go off grid. So at this point, we want to okay, so if you can see that, what we have so far is the front facing. And then if you flip it open, you can see there, oh, I found another piece of thread. I'm always picking off the thread when I see it along the way. You can see that the zipper has been installed on the left side. When you line this up on the front side, you effectively can tell exactly where the right side of the tape needs to be placed. So what I do at this particular point is I go back to my two-sided tape, which is sticking to everything. This is precious to me. I don't want to miss. I don't want to lose an inch of it. All right. Cut off a piece of that. And just as I did on the left side, on the right side of it, I'm going to line it up and just press it down, getting rid of the extra. press it down, make sure that it has totally adhered to your zipper tape. And then I peel off, it comes off so easily, the top. And then if you look, there is a shiny little glimmer, and that is the two-sided tape there. All that I have to do at this particular point, and I want to be careful as I do this, I can remove it. Oops, let's get rid of that tape off my finger. You can pull it off, but I want to try to be as accurate as possible. And I just lay the fly facing across the way that it would go. Need to make a little adjustment so you could see how easy that was to lift and to adjust. Making sure that my notches are matching up, and then press down again. All right, so it looks like my zipper is already sewn in, but it isn't. It's just taped down. So I am now going to flip it over, and I am going to begin to sew the right side, making sure that I'm only sewing the zipper to the front and not to anything else. So I'm going to, this seems wrong to me the way that I'm doing this, but I'm wondering if I should have done that first. That seems odd to me. Again, guys, I often will do things based on the way I think it should go. It's not always necessarily the right way. Yeah, I think that's the way it is. It's just sewn. Is it sewn down this way? It is. So I'm just going to take it to the sewing machine and feel where the zipper is. I'm going to baste this one because I just want to make sure I'm doing it properly. When in doubt, baste. Okay. I'm just going to baste it down. Open it up. Make sure that I did indeed do it properly, because didn't that seem too easy? It's perfect. Let me get that extra little thread off. It's perfect. It is perfect. So now I'm going to go back to what I just did. Whoops. Did I sew down the facing to it? Nope, you did something wrong. So what I ended up doing was totally closing the facing the zipper guard in. So I'm glad that I basted it and not sewed it in. I needed to pin that zipper guard out of the way. So it is your lucky day, guys. You're getting to see all the wrong stuff today. All the little bitty mistakes that you can do. And hopefully, I'm hoping that it's helpful and you don't do them. This is the real deal of what it looks like for a sewist behind the scenes. The real deal, good people. Thank goodness for basting. Look how easy that was. Now we're going to go back and sew that down, because it was important for me to move the zipper guard out of the way, because if you sew the zipper guard down, well, you're not going to be able to open up your pants. So that was the piece that I needed to correct. All right, so I am still going to baste it because things happen, right? Okay. Just a baste in, and then let's see how that looks before we move on. Okay. Open it up. When the zipper guard is behind it, you totally unzip your pants, and there she is. Beautiful. Okay, now I will take it back to the sewing machine and actually open it up and sew that completely down. There we go. sew it where it's kind of top stitched. But that's not the way it should be done. So I'm just going to do it this way. Okay. Go back to my regular stitch. Whoops. Got a little stuck there. All right, here we go. What is getting caught back there? Piece of thread. Free the thread. Okay. And all the way down to the okay. Get rid of a couple extra pieces of thread there. Don't want any of that thread to get caught in the zipper. To me, this is probably the hardest part of the pattern, and that wasn't hard. I made it more difficult than it needed to be. So as you're watching this, feel free to fast forward past certain things. But I probably made that harder than it really needed to be, but that's probably the hardest thing of the zipper. The rest of it is pretty straight seams. And there we go. The zipper is installed. I have the zipper guard installed as well. I'm really happy with the way that that turned out. We can now move on. Stitch the side front 15 to the side edges of the right and left. So let me grab pattern piece 15. And you needed to cut 2 of these. So with pattern piece 15, let me put my two-sided away. So with pattern piece 15, you want to have the garment front pieces that you've already sewn together face up. And then with pattern piece 15, using and following the notches, you are going to place this face down so that right sides are facing and making sure that you are matching up your notches. So I'm going to do that on both sides. Making sure that the notches are matched up. I do like to use clips. This Ankara fabric, I have to tell you about it. I was really blessed to have the opportunity this past year to spend a little bit of time in Kenya. I have a family member, my nephew, who married a Kenyan, beautiful, beautiful Kenyan woman and beautiful Kenyan family. And they've been married actually for over 10 years. And I'd been saying for a long time that I wanted to be able to travel with them to Kenya to actually experience the motherland with people from the motherland. And so it was just an incredible opportunity to spend some time in Kenya. While I was there, fabric shopping was, oops, let me get back to my regular foot. Put the zipper foot away, grab my regular foot, and put that down. So one of the things that I knew that I really wanted to do while I was in Kenya was to spend some time shopping. In Kenya, they have what is called the Maasai Market. And the Maasai Market is actually open, I want to say 7 days a week. But what is unique about it is not in the same location every day. So every single day of the week, it's in a different location in Kenya, in Nairobi, I should say. And so every Tuesday it's in one particular place, every Wednesday it's in another particular place, and so that rotation is a weekly rotation. And so we were able to actually visit the Maasai market. I'm gonna say maybe 3 different times that we were there. It's an incredibly wonderful experience with different makers and sellers from the country of Kenya. And this is one of the fabrics that I purchased from the Maasai market. It is an Ankara fabric, is what most people would call it. I'm trying to think of the name of it. They actually call it something different in Kenya, and I'm having a brain freeze right now. But all Ankara, generally speaking, is actually made in Holland, and it is something that was adopted because of the color by African people. And so it's sold all over the world. But the pieces that they had in Kenya were really amazing and special. And I've been holding this piece for 9 months now and waiting for the right project. So I'm excited to be making these pants using the fabric that I purchased from Kenya. So it's every time I wear it, it will mean something very special to me. I do believe that right here on my channel on YouTube, I did post I think I posted a short. I have a short where I kind of walk you through the experience. Just incredible. I got, in addition to fabric, I bought I think 2 things of Ankara fabric, 2 or 3 pieces of Ankara fabric from the Maasai market. I purchased some beautiful bags, tote bags and things like that from the Maasai market, little toiletry bags, all made out of beautiful African fabric. I got some gorgeous earrings and, oh my gosh, a beautiful necklace. I was concerned I wouldn't be able to get everything home because, of course, I had a lot of clothes with me that I packed for the trip. But I wanted to be able to shop. So we made it, but it was just an amazing experience. I also bought some artwork it was on like rolled canvas. So I was able to roll that up in my suitcase. Actually, I think I laid it flat, and then we framed it once we got home. So some wonderful memories of Kenya. And then also while I was there, I went to an actual fabric store. And so in my short, I actually walk you through my shopping experience in the fabric store as well. And this fabric store, they actually do commission work for like Banana Republic, a number of these big designers, which was really interesting to learn and hear. And I bought a couple pieces of fabric, knit fabric from them, and I haven't made anything with that yet, but I will. Okay. All right. So now that I've done that, I am going to actually serge the edges of the fabric very quickly, because you top stitch it down, but I want to clean up the seam so it's nice. So to be loud for just a minute while I work on my serger here. Let me move this so you can see a little bit of the serging happening. And the serger also trims the seams for me. Where are my snippers? And I want to do the other side. The other seam that I just sewed up. Okay. All right, snippers, where are you? I'm always losing my snippers. I'm going to go to my pressing station. Going to just tilt you up a little bit so you can see me over here. And I'm going to press those seams. I do believe that the instructions call for pressing the seams toward the front. And then we're going to top stitch that. Yes, press the seams toward the front and top stitch. Making sure I'm pressing toward the front. The Oliso also has an automatic shut off. So if I don't use it after a while, it will shut off, but it heats up pretty quickly. And if you can see from there, you see how I'm ironing and my hand is actually on the Oliso. If I raise my hand, you notice how the feet immediately lift the iron away from my fabric, protecting my fabric from being burned. Remember, if you want to have, you're interested in Oliso through Friday, which is the 15th, I am running a giveaway on Instagram. So if you're watching this live now or you're watching the replay and it's before March 15th, hop over to Instagram, Yoga Bird Sews. All you need to do is like the post, like the sponsors, follow the sponsors, and tag 2 friends. That's all you have to do, and you're going to be put in for the drawing. Okay, I'm going to tilt you down. I'm going to now top stitch on the outside down those seams, encasing the seam underneath. And you can see that I use serger threads that match the fabric, and the serger threads basically almost melt right into the fabric. I put on orange, black, and white serger threads. I like to do that to get it to match. You can't see it, but I still like it. And then I'm just going to do a little top stitch. I am so excited about working with this fabric finally. And the it's so vibrant, it really speaks to me, the orange. And I am making, like I said, a matching tank top using an Aronica seam work pattern. And I'm doing a very bright, solid orange tank, which I think is going to just make this pop even more. It's starting finally to feel like spring here in the States. I'm not sure where you are in watching. I am based in the U.S. on the East Coast, so in Maryland, and we've had some huge fluctuations in weather, from 70-degree days, and then at night it might get into the 30s. This week is supposed to be pretty mild weather. Like today, I think the weather is, oh, where's my, it's going to be overcast here today, but right now it's already 58 degrees and the high is going to be 68. Oops, I am sewing away, guys, and my needle isn't, how long did that go on? Sewing away, and my needle, for whatever reason, was not threaded. Okay. That's one of the things, I don't know if you guys noticed how easy it was to rethread my needle. I love that about the Pfaff. All right, now let's figure out how far I went top stitching where I really wasn't top stitching. Okay. That leg totally, this leg not at all. So. we're good. Do you do that sometimes? You're just busy moving, you get to the end of the seam and you realize either your thread, your needle became, was undone, unthreaded, or, you had a chicken bobbin day where you lost chicken bobbin and you ran out of thread on the bobbin. Sometimes I even have chicken spool where I run out of thread up top as well, and I have okay. So that is the front of the pants. Put the clip in. So that's the front of the pants, and let's go and see what comes up next. Stitch the back to the side back. So we're now going to stitch 17 and 18. I'm going to sit this off on the side for now and pick up pattern pieces 17 and 18. Ooh. I'm going to actually mark this so I know which pattern piece it is. I don't think I need to, but I do it anyway just to be on the safe side sometimes. And I do it within the seam allowance. Okay. Probably unnecessary, but sometimes I do it. So here's 17. Oops, there's a pin in there. Okay, turn those right sides up. Grab pattern piece number 18. And these are going to be right sides down. So I have them facing. I want to make sure that I'm matching up is it the double notch? Matching notches and trim. Is that a single notch or double notch? I need to match up here. I find that odd that I have two different double notches on this. Let me double check that. Oh, that's a triple notch. Okay, that's a triple. And this is a double and a single. Okay. Making sure that I'm matching up the double notches. So there's one. I'm going to put a clip in it. And then match up the double notch on this one. And there's my double notch on this one. Okay. Gonna clip that a little bit, lining up all of the raw edges. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you all for the likes. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I am, in addition to being a new sewist, I am new on YouTube. I'm excited about sharing the experience. You know, I want people to feel confident about sewing, realizing that, you know, you can start at any age and from any place, and it's a-okay. It is a-okay. And sharing a little bit of my tips along the way. All right, I just want to double check, make sure that we are good. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch down, making sure the double notches are touching, using the 5/8 seam allowance. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. I really would appreciate that. I promise to provide weekly sewing content. Some may be an actual live sew along like what we're doing today. Other times it may be a pattern review. And I'm going to start to do much more detailed pattern reviews because I want you to get to know, I want to be able to share the skinny, the fine print on everything about the pattern. You're going to get an honest review from me. As I mentioned, I'm curvy, guys. I'm a curvy sewist. I'm full busted, and I want to make sure that things fit me well, that they look good on me. And so I'm going to give you my real opinion about patterns and fabric. On the pattern instructions, I find the instructions on this one to be pretty good. It's just that the skinny about this particular pattern is it's so many darn pattern pieces. And it takes a lot to have to, when it's time to prepare your pattern pieces, cutting them out, interfacing them, serging. I'm not doing the pockets. There are 2 front pockets, 2 back pockets, and 6 gusset cargo pockets. Those are the things that I think take the most time in making the pattern. Full disclosure, it's not hard. It's just that make sure you set some time aside to do it. I personally don't think this is the kind of pattern that you can decide, I'm going to cut today and I'm going to wear this out for an event tonight. I mean, if you are a super fast sewist, maybe you can. For me, I know I'm not going to be able to cut it and sew it in the same day because there are a lot of different pattern pieces. Okay, now that I've sewed the back pieces together, I'm going to take it over to the ironing board. I'm going to flip you up. I hate saying flip you up. I'm going to turn it up a little bit so you can see me. I'm going to hit the seam just momentarily. I'm going to serge it, and then I'm going to press it and top stitch it. I like to press the seam a little bit because it helps to get the thread to really melt into the fabric. Let me go ahead and serge this. It'll get noisy for a minute. Still didn't find my little snips. Oh, they're over there. And you know, my serger actually does have a little thread cutter here. I never use it, but I should. Do the other one. going to press the seam toward the center. I'm pretty sure that's what it says, but let's double check. Press seams toward the back and then top stitch. So the back is going to be where the crotch line is located. Oh man, guys, this fabric irons up so nicely. These colors are gorgeous. All right, so that's ready to be top stitched. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm loving this fabric. It's so beautiful to work with. July, I think the 7th through the 14th of this year is Ankara Appreciation Week. So start thinking about your makes that you want to do with Ankara. It doesn't have to be garments. You can make things for your home decor, tablecloths, placemats, pillowcases, you know, all kinds of accents pieces, purses, bags, jewelry. So get ready for Ankara Appreciation Week. If you are on Instagram, you know, you'll see so many amazing and incredible makes all year long, but especially during that particular week. And one of my good friends, Lena King, is actually one of the ambassadors for Ankara Appreciation Week. It's really a fun thing to do. Speaking of Ankara, people often ask, can everyone sew Ankara? And the answer to that question is absolutely. I would say, respectfully, everybody can sew with Ankara. I personally would stay away from prints that look like they might be tribal prints, but 99% of the Ankara fabric, I would say, everybody can sew with it. So some people say, you know, is it appropriation for me to sew with Ankara? Absolutely not. I actually encourage it. You know, just being respectful of the culture, I find that it is a compliment. And, you know, so I say everyone. You know, some people are a little bit afraid, and they also are a little bit afraid about sewing with Ankara because of the prints and the colors. Ankara, like this one, has, you know, small prints, that sort of thing. There are some pieces of Ankara that have very large prints. You pick something that works for you. I love color. Color is my jam. I love color. I love popping color. And so, but there are some that are a lot more subtle, you know, maybe just one or two colors. Again, check out some of my makes on Instagram where I've done a lot of Ankara makes. You don't have to go for the really vibrant colors. It's something that I love, but it's totally up to you. All right, so these are the back pieces. I'm going to sit those off on the side. It is now time for me to put on the pockets. I'm picking up now the front pieces again. I'm going to grab the patch pockets, which are, let's see, where are they? Okay, so the patch pockets are pattern piece 16. What I did prior to, while I was preparing for the sew along is, after cutting them out, I went on and serged the edges. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and take a moment to do that. I folded wrong sides facing this slanted edge in by about 5/8. Because I serged it, I didn't have to follow the instructions. The instructions will have you fold it in and then again to encase the raw edges. So that's an option if you do not have a serger. I'm losing my voice. You're going to top stitch that slanted edge. If you have a cover stitch, that's great for doing this kind of work as well. Oh, guys. Oh, guys. Will you look at that? I have run out of bobbin thread. Let me make sure that on my pants that I didn't run out before I finish the top stitching. Look at that. I ran out of thread before I finished the top stitching and didn't even notice it. Okay, on one of them. Fortunately, I have some black thread already on bobbins. I like to, when I have downtime, I like to go ahead and get bobbins ready in a number of different colors so it doesn't stop me in the middle of my sewing project and you just grab one of the bobbins. And I usually keep black and white definitely on hand. Before going back to the pocket, I'm going to go back and do that top stitching. That's the... Okay, here's the piece where the top stitching did not happen. The thread melts so well into the fabric that I don't even notice that it isn't sewing. I mean, it literally melts into this fabric. Now, if I was looking for more of a contrast, I could have used, I could have pulled out the yellow or the orange and used that as a top stitch, but I felt that there was already enough going on that I really love with the fabric that I didn't think I needed to pull anything out of it. The fabric already speaks for itself. Finish the top stitching all the way down to the very end. You can backstitch. I didn't, but you can. And then I'm going to go back to top stitching the slanted edge of the pocket. Back to our regular programming. Do that on the other side, on the other pocket. I'm going to now grab my pattern piece, the front pants, and I'm going to place the slanted pockets down. Here's the front pattern piece. So right side's facing up. I'm going to grab this side, and this is really easy because you just line it up basically along the raw edges. There is a notch here. But honestly, you just line it up against the raw edges. So it's really easy. The knot should immediately line up. I'm just going to use a clip here. And then in what I'm going to do on the sewing machine is at the top of the patch pocket, and along the sides, I am going to baste those down because they will actually be sewn in when I sew the back to the front along the side. But I am also going to top stitch the pocket down along the front and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple pins in there. I think we're doing pretty good for time. We've been in about an hour and a half. Of course, I was talking a bit, but I think we've done pretty good. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to start with a base. I'm going to change the length of my stitch to 5, which is the longest length. I'm going to baste the pocket down on the side, well within the seam allowance. When I get to the bottom of the pattern piece, the pocket piece, I'm going to go back to my regular stitch. And very close to that folded edge, I'm going to sew the pocket down. Turn it and bring it up the front of the pants. And making sure to move the diagonal wrap fly out of the way. You don't want to get that caught up in your pocket. And then at the top, I'm going to turn it to a basting stitch, and I'm going to baste the top down well within the seam allowance. Perfect. Get rid of any extra little threads here. I like to clean those up along the way instead of waiting. And let me slide you out the machine out of the way a moment. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the front of the other side of the pants. So the pants actually right sides facing up. The pocket, the wrong side of the pocket touching the right sides of the pants. Lining up my raw edges and notches. Get your clips to hold that down, just the same way that we did on the other side. Couple pins where I'll be placing the pocket down on the front. And just to make sure that the pocket doesn't slide. Cotton is really good. Ankara is really good to work with. It's not a silky material or anything like that. So you don't have that slipping and sliding thing going on. Change the stitch to a regular stitch as I begin to sew the pocket down along the front, close to that folded edge. Take my pins out along the way. You can actually sew over it. I rarely do that. If I'm working with very difficult fabric, I may keep it in, but I'll slow my machine down to make sure that my needle doesn't hit the actual pin. You can end up breaking, certainly you can end up bending the pin, which isn't a big deal, but then you could also break the needle. Also not a big deal, very easy to replace the needle, but it's something that's you can easily avoid by just moving the pin out of the way. And then on this side, change the stitch length and baste along the raw edge on the side of the pocket. We now have patch pockets on, we now have front pockets. The instructions now have us working on the gusset pocket. I am only going to do one gusset pocket on these pants just so I can demonstrate how it works. But there are many gusset pockets if you are interested in doing all of the gussets. Make sure I'm grabbing the right pattern piece. Okay, so the gusset is kind of like what creates that extra dimension on the side of the pocket. And what I did previous to coming on live is I serged the edges of the gusset. There are markings on the gusset pattern pieces, which I've transferred here. You need to stitch through to reinforce those markings. This is on the inside, so you won't see that. And the reason why you need to reinforce the dot is because you're going to cut right up to, see if you can see that. You're going to cut right up to that dot. Can you see that? Right up to the dot, but not through it. And so that reinforcement is important. So we've already done that piece. You're going to need to do this for every one of your gusset pockets. And there are 6 on these pants. The big pocket, what I did is I serged all of the edges. I folded down the top of the gusset. I'm actually going to fold it to the right side and just stitch that very small piece on the end. I'll show you in a minute. So I folded the pattern piece right sides facing, and just for that tiny end, I sewed down. So I'm gonna do the same thing here, fold that to the right side, and it'll make sense in just a minute. And I'm just gonna sew that little end down along the seam allowance, at 5/8 seam allowance. This is when you want to grab your point turner. Grab your point turner, and you're just going to flip that little corner out. I take my little point turner and I go in there like so, and just kind of get into the corner, and that creates a very clean edge. I'm going to press that down very quickly. Actually, you know what? I went off grid. This is not what I'm supposed to do on this pocket. This is something that I would do for a regular canvas pocket. Again, guys, I go off grid. That's not what you need to do here. Byrd, no, that's not what you do. I forgot about the gusset. I went off grid thinking regular pocket. So let's just unstitch that very quickly. If you're following along or have already sewed this, you're probably wherever you are in the world saying, Byrd, no, not on this one. I forgot I was doing a gusset pocket. And I was just rocking and rolling. Fortunately, this is just a tiny little snippet. And there, just like that, we're back in business. This is what we need to do. Right sides facing, you are going to pin the gusset. I'm going to show you. Right sides facing, move some of these other things out of the way. Right sides facing, you are going to pin that gusset down along the sides. Do the same on the other. Lining up the raw edges. I thought I saw a FedEx truck. I get excited. I'm like, is fabric coming today? So do that on the other side. And then at the bottom, this is where those little snips matter. There are notches that let you know where the center of that pocket is at the bottom. And you just go ahead and put a clip or 2. Although I'm not doing all of the pockets, I wanted to do at least one so you could see how it comes together. So that is how it would look before you actually sew it down. So the gusset is right sides facing, and I know it may be a little hard to follow because of the Ankara. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see that. And I've pinned the gusset right sides facing along the edges and the bottom. We're going to start on one side using the regular seam allowance of 5/8. Back stitching all the way down, moving the clip. Now this is the tricky part. You have that little area that you reinforced, right? there is a little cut. That cut is important. You're going to sew all the way down to just where that, just on the outside of that reinforced stitch. Leave your needle in and turn. It kind of reminds me of a mitered edge. And then all the way down on the pattern. Whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies. Okay, all the way down until you get to that reinforced edge. Leave the needle in, turn. Oh wow, guys, I had this one. Move that out of the way, that little mitered edge there. Put your needle back down in, and all along the seam allowance on the other side. Reinforce. Okay. That is what it looks like. That is the gusset that we have just sewn on. What we do now is I'm just going to hand press the seam allowance of the gusset. Found a little piece of thread. I'm going to hand press the seam allowance of that gusset toward the pocket. And you're going to top stitch on the pocket. I also, it doesn't say to do this, but I also find that if I cut a little snip in the actual pocket corner, it loosens up the fabric and allows me to get in there nicely. All the way down, staying in the seam allowance, leave your needle in, turn it, and, oops, did I not press my, all right, I forgot to press the gusset piece under on the bottom, so I want to make sure I go back and do that. So I want to make sure that that gusset piece is pressed toward the pocket. And then just back to regular programming. Okay. And do that all the way around. Leave it in. Turn it, leaving your needle down, and just finish up the top stitching on the final side. Okay. Easy smeezy, guys. So there's the pocket, the gusset pocket, and that looks really nice. And that's the gusset. Okay, when it's time for us to place those down, I'll show you how to do that. But before we go on, we're just going to fold the top down, and I've already pressed this, and I'm just going to top stitch that. So that is the gusset pocket. There is a flap that goes with the gusset pocket. Let me see if I can find it. That's the waistband. There's so many pieces to this, y'all. So many pieces. The back pockets, waistband, flap. Okay. Here's the flap. I only did one because I'm only doing that one pocket. So what I did with the flap, I didn't do exactly the instructions. The instructions have you cut 2 of these and to interface one side. What I did was I cut 1 piece instead of 2 on the fold. And that eliminated having to put this seam here. It was unnecessary, so I didn't do that. The other thing that I did, you don't have to do this either, is I pressed the only remaining raw edge under I'm going to turn this right sides out, wrong side out, and I am just going to simply close the side of the flap. I'm going to do that on the other side, making sure that I'm lining up those folded edges. The instructions in the guide are totally fine. It's all about what speaks to you. If I can find a little shortcut, I'm going to find the shortcut. Using my duckbill scissors, I'm going to cut or grade the seams just the side where there is the interfacing, reducing any bulk in the seams, and you want to cut very close to the edge, and that will allow you to have the corner. That will allow you to have a very crisp corner for your flap. And I didn't do this down. I didn't trim the ends here. I don't normally. I'm going to turn it out. Grab my point turner. Push it into those edges a little bit. I'm going to take this over to the iron board. I'm not going to shift you because this is a quick little press down. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and close up that, whoops, I'm going to close up that raw edge. It's not a raw edge, it's actually the folded edge. Whoops, making sure to get all those little bits in there. All right, that is my flap, and we've just done a gusseted pocket. All right, so let's move on. Instructions had us do that. Now for the placement on the pants. I am going to go a little bit off grid on this because the pockets on the pants, let me show you on a pattern envelope. The canvas pockets are generally on the thigh, right? I'm not going to do that. Since I'm only doing one of the gusseted pockets, I'm actually going to put mine kind of on the side that's in between the front and the back because I'm only doing the one. And I think that that's a better placement for it since I'm not doing both. So I'm going to skip the instruction for now and begin to bring the front and back together. Let me just double check on what I'm all doing here. Making sure I'm not missing anything. They're still doing flaps, flaps, flaps. Good. So I'm now going to skip ahead to the instruction number 38, which is to stitch the back to the front at inner leg edges. And I'm probably not going to do this step here either. The reason why is because I'm putting that cargo pants pocket on one side. So I'm actually going to do the side piece first on one side because I want to be able to have that openness on the other side, which will give me full access to do the cargo pocket on the outside. So I'm going to match up the notches, making sure that's a single notch. So right side's facing of my side pieces. Okay, take that to the sewing machine and using your regular the seam allowance, I'm going to, did something get stuck there? It feels like something got stuck there. Let's double check. When in doubt, start again. There is a little some glitch there. Okay, there we go. Not sure what happened there, but anywho, I'm gonna go back over it. Use my seam allowance and go all the way down. And I could have taken the time to pin all of the raw edges. I didn't because this Ankara is so easy to work with. I can just use my fingers to hold it together all the way down to the end. And the top stitching of the seams on the pants are only on the front and the back. You don't have any top stitching on the side. You could add it if it's something that speaks to you. Okay. I'm going to serge that. I'm going to serge it like I did all of the others. I'm going to take it over to my ironing board. I'm going to be off camera just for a hot second. Take it over to my ironing board, and I'm going to press the seam toward the rear. You can see my feet, right? But I'm still here. I'm still here. Just going to press that seam toward the rear. And again, you could do some top stitching here if that speaks to you. I don't think I really need to, so I'm not going to. At this particular point, let me move my sewing machine out of the way. I am winging this, the placement of that pocket on the side. So it's a lot of fabric. I will walk you through in a minute. So what you see is you have the front pocket. There's the zipper, and you have the front pocket. This is that side seam. Whoops. Okay, so your front pocket, and this is the side seam that joins the back to the front of your pants. I am going to decide where I want to place my gusseted pocket. So let me give some thought to this. I knew I wanted to do it, but I hadn't given it a whole ton of thought on exactly where I was going to place it. So you're now in my brain with me. Thank you so much for the likes and for hanging out. So this is the pair that I made this weekend at the sewing retreat. So I have the pocket here, and then I have the pocket that's about maybe an inch and a half below is where it starts. And what I'm going to do with that one pocket is I'm going to put it over on the side and not on the thigh area. So I'm just going to use this as my little guide on that kind of works for me. I'm going to make it slightly lower. So I'm going to use the guide on the pattern piece. So let me grab my pattern piece. So the side back. Oh, you know, I didn't put my pockets in on the back either, so I need to do that too. I skipped that step. So I'm deciding where I want to place the patch pocket here. So about 2 inches. This doesn't give me a lot of room here on this little table. I usually do this on my cutting table, but I wanted to bring you into the madness in my mind. So I'm going to find the center mark of this pocket by just kind of pressing it, and I'm going to put a pin so I know where the center of the pocket is, and I'm going to put that along the seam of the pants. And I know that I want it slightly lower than where it starts on the other one. So I'm going to place it right about here. And then I'm going to start at the back, making sure that it's fairly lined up to my waistband. Use my little ruler to help me make sure. It's crazy how sometimes you can eyeball stuff and be like totally right. And this looks really good. So because these are gusseted pockets, you don't sew them down. Whoops, I don't need you to look at me. I need you to look down there. You don't, oh, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So you don't sew them flat. You don't sew them flat. You actually, it's kind of like puffed up here. And again, I'm doing this truly on, am I doing this the right way? Let me double check, because guys, I'm doing this my own way and not the way that the instructions have me going. Oh, first off, I was supposed to press my seam down, so let me do that. So I want to press the edges of the gusset pocket down. So let's do that. Going a little bit off the pattern to make it what I want it to be, which is the beauty of sewing. You should always do that. All the way around, press that in. I almost forgot that part. Remember to put it back where I had the pin. Finding the center of my pocket again. I'm going to grab my measuring guide and do just a little quick check. Okay, let me double check that. Whoops. Here. All right. The front needs to come down a little bit. So now, having done that, I'm gonna put you guys back down so you can see what I'm doing inside. Inside the madness, I'm pinning the top so it won't move. I am going to take another look at that to make sure that I'm happy with the placement. Fold the pants a little bit. I tell you guys, it's amazing how things just sometimes come together. All right. I am happy with that. Now is when I begin to pin the gusset edges down. So you don't pin it flat like you would with a normal pocket. It's kind of this little folded up edge. And actually, if I put my flap on it, it'll give me an idea of exactly how wide it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my flap down. Are these necessarily the way that other people would do it? Probably not, but for me, it's the way I do my pockets and making sure that they're kind of even, and I do what speaks to me. I'm happy with that placement. And go ahead and do the other side. And I'm happy with that one. adjust my flap a little bit. I want the flap to be even over my pocket. I'm gonna pull that one in a little tiny bit more. Continuing to make a few adjustments until I am happy with it. Okay, I like the way that that is lining up. Now that I'm happy with the way that it's lining up, I'm going to go ahead and continue to pin along. Whoops, don't want to pin through other fabric here. It's a lot of fabric here. Making sure that I'm not pinning through any other layers. And then the other side. I usually do this on my cutting table, which is like 60 inches long. But I wanted to be able to stay in frame so you guys can see me. So I'm doing it here on my sewing table, which is not very wide at all. So I appreciate you guys' patience. If you're watching this on live or at a later time, watching the replay, I do check my comments. And so if you have any questions about my process that maybe I did not answer or missed, feel comfortable dropping me a comment. I'm happy to share. So definitely let me know. I'm moving the gusset out of the way, which will give it that kind of 3D feel versus a very flat pocket. And before I sew it, I'll bring it up closer so you can see that. Making sure to get in there. All right. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but what I've done is I've pinned the gusset down. It is not a flat pocket, so it's kind of pocket is pinned a little bit away from the actual fabric. Let's go ahead and sew it on. Find my little snippers. I see a couple pieces of thread. And then you want to just sew the gusset down, that folded edge of the gusset all the way down. And when you get to the corner, just take your time making your way around the corner. It can feel a little bit tricky, but it does actually come together pretty well. I'm just making some small adjustments as I prepare to go around the little corner, taking my time. Okay. Adjusting it once I get to the bottom. Making sure I'm not sewing through any additional layers except this single one in the pocket. Taking my time as I get to that little corner. Moving the gusset slightly out of the way, making that little turn, dropping the needle and turning the fabric, and I'm now on home stretch. Put a little bit of a back stitch there. And there's the gusset pocket. And you can see with my hand in it how much it actually, you know, is kind of 3D and not flat on your pants. So before moving away from the gusset pocket, I am going to fold the corner down flat, and I'm going to sew just a reinforcement stitch. I'm going to do like a little triangle. And over on the other side, I'm pretty sure the pattern has you doing this too, but I just want to yeah, the pattern has you doing this piece too. It's pretty much something you do on most of your pockets like this. So doing that and pin that down. I'm going to reinforce the pocket now in the corners. It's called a bar tack, but you don't have to use a particular stitch on your machine to do it. It's basically like a little triangle. Little tiny triangle in the corner there. And I wanted to do at least one of these so you can see, and then back stitch, so that you can see that that the pattern is really not a hard pattern. It's just that it takes time to do each and every one of the 6 gusset pockets that are included on this pattern. I'm going to do the same little bar tack on the other side. Okay, so I've tacked down the gusset pockets and you still have that 3D look. I'm going to now take another look at the flap. Make sure I'm happy with the placement of the flap. Make sure that it's centered nicely. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. Lift it up a little bit higher. And over here. And then make sure it's lined up with the pocket on the other side. Get rid of a couple extra little pieces of thread that I see hanging around. And then you take the pattern, the fabric back to the machine, and you're just going to, with that flap faced up and open, you're just going to stitch it down. Whoops. You're going to stitch it down close to that folded edge. Making sure you're not stitching through anything but that, because it's a lot of fabric here. Take out those pins. There's your pocket. Now what I'm going to do is take this to my ironing machine, my ironing board. I'm going to press the flap down, come back, and we're going to top stitch that. And then we're done with the one gusseted pocket. So I'm off screen just for a moment as I press the flap down to prepare it to be top stitched. Give it a little bit of steam. You can also do that along the gusset if you want. Give it a little bit of a press to lock in those folded gusseted edges. Y'all, I'm liking this. Even before I top stitch it. I like it, even before I top stitch it. All right, let me go ahead and do that little top stitch on it. See if I see any loose threads here. Okay, there she is. I like it. Okay. What I did skip along the way were the back pockets. And I do want to put in my back pocket. So I have my 2 back pockets. I could skip them, but I'm going to go ahead. I cut them, so I'm going to go ahead and do them. I'm going to top stitch that folded, ooh. I'm going to top stitch the folded edge. Whoa. Oops. All right, Byrd. There we go. I'm going to top stitch that folded edge of the pocket. Now these are flat pockets. So you basically, when you place them down, you're just stitching around the 3 sides of the pocket and putting in a bar tack. So these are your regular pockets. I'm going to go off over here and I'm going to press down the side pieces of this. So on each of the 3 corners, the 3 sides, you just want to press wrong sides facing. I'm just doing a scant, honestly, it's about a 1/2 inch. You can do more. I don't think it really is that big of a deal. You just want to make sure that whatever you do on one pocket, as far as that little seam allowance there, that you're doing the same on the other. I see a couple extra little threads. Go ahead and snip those. I'm going to grab the single back pocket piece first. And I don't remember if I transferred any markings onto this. Even if I did, it would have been with a heat erasable pen. And when I did my, oops, this is not completely back stitch. Top stitch. And when I did my, the pressing of that seam, I lost those markings. So I'm gonna have to go back to my pattern to make sure. Let me put you guys back down here. And what I was doing was I realized I missed a top stitch piece, so I wanted to clean that up. Okay, so here's the back of the pants. I'm gonna grab my back pattern piece. I'm gonna pin it on in a very non-scientific way. Matching up the edges and where the pocket is supposed to go. I'm simply placing the pocket, gently moving the tissue paper out of the way, pinning it down. I'm going to grab the other back pocket piece to make sure that the other side is down properly. Here's the other back. So I'm just doing a little bit of double checking here. line these up raw edges and making sure that the pocket is aligned properly on this side. And that looks pretty darn good. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and pin that. And I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch on my pocket. I'm going to include my little reinforcement in the corner with my stitch. Just doing it a different kind of way. I'm going to back stitch it here, going slow. That's because I'm too lazy to take it out and do it the other way. And then this way. And then continue all the way down and around. So basically that was my bar tack that I just added. Finish the pocket on the other side. Did my thread come loose? It did. If that happens again, I will completely unthread the machine to make sure that nothing is awry there. It's unusual for that to happen. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to where I ended and start again. All the way to the corner. Go right up to that corner. I'm gonna turn it, add that little bar tack. And if you hear a little bit of background noise, it'll only be for a few minutes. We actually have having our room shampooed next door. All right, so that's the back pocket. What I am actually going to do now is I could do everything that I did before by laying the pattern piece on it, the original pattern piece and marking, but what I'm going to do is something a little bit different that I like to do. Which is I'm going to lay one of the fabric pieces on top of the other. Y'all are seeing all my little tricks today. Lining up the edges. Making sure that both pieces of the fabric are flat and that all of the raw edges are lined up. Now where's my other pattern, my other flat pocket? I'm gonna need that, Byrd. Gotta find that other back pocket. Here it is on the floor. I'd already top stitched and folded the edges in. So now that I have the two pieces of fabric, the back fabric pieces laying flat down, what I am going to do is, I know this is weird, I am going to pin one pocket right sides facing to the other pocket that was already sewn on. Lay it down flat like that. I'm just beginning to move the pins to the single pocket that I need to now sew down. And by doing this, matching basically of the pocket in this way, it just makes sure that my pockets are completely symmetrical. It may take me a few extra minutes to work it out, but it does actually work. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I love that. That looks good. And so now that I have it all pinned down, I can take out the pins that, please tell me I did not flip the pocket around upside down. That would not help matters. Let me write the pocket correctly. I actually, I had the pocket, the top of the pocket off to the side. Y'all, I make some of the goofiest mistakes sometimes. Now I'm gonna just double check real quick, make sure it's all aligned properly without my crazy little mistakes. Welcome to the crazy mind of Byrd. And that's a little bit off. I'm gonna go over to my cutting table. You can see me, okay. I'm gonna go to my cutting table because I'm struggling with this, because I'm trying to do it in a very small space. And why do that to myself when I have this big cutting table behind me? And I can actually use some of my pattern weights to help me with it. I'm gonna let you see my pattern weights in just a minute too. They're not your standard pattern weights at all. But I believe you use whatever you have available. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. This part is taking longer than it should with my non-scientific way. Frankly, it probably would have been easier just to do it looking at the tissue paper. It doesn't normally take this long. So sorry about the delay here as I try to get it organized, get it all lined up. It does not take this long at all. We're close. We are close. We are close. Yep, we are close. I think I got it now. I think I got it. Took an extra minute. Appreciate you guys' patience. I'm good. I'm good now. If you are watching the replay, you can certainly fast forward past my crazy inside mind. But this is the way it is. I don't always do things the way. Oh, and this is the wrong pattern piece. I don't. I've already sewn that pocket down. This is the one that needs to be sewn down. That's pinned. I don't always do the things the way that others may do it. My brain doesn't necessarily work the way that everyone else's does, and that's okay. Maybe you're like me too. All right, let me put that bar tack in. And then continue to sew the pocket all the way down and around. Now that I have it, little thread there. You don't want to sew that down all the way to the corner. Drop the needle. We are almost there on the pockets. No more pockets, guys. This is it. This is it. Let me get around to that last little piece. Pull the machine back into your view. Let's get rid of this extra little thread in here. It is bugging me. Okay. Add that little bar tack. It's basically a little diamond. We have pockets, back pockets, front pockets, one patch gusset pockets. We have pockets. Pockets are done. All right, pattern instructions. Now I need to do the center seams and the other side seam. So we're back to regular programming. All right, so we have pockets. Since I already did the other seam on the back, I'm going to go ahead and do that right here. So I'm going to sew the side seam to the back seam, right sides facing, matching up notches, raw edges. I'm almost at the point that I can try on pants and do a fit test. I do like to do that along the way. My experience with these pants so far have been, one is I do want them to be loose fitting, so that's one, but I want the waist to be fitted. And on the other pants that I've made, I had to take the waist in a total of about an inch. So it was about like a quarter on each of the side seams. So my guess is I'm gonna have to do that on this one too, but we'll see. Things fit differently sometimes with different fabric. Have you guys made this Know Me pattern or made cargo pants? Do you have a particular cargo pants pattern that you love? And even if you're watching this on the replay, if you have a pattern that you love, please drop it. I'm definitely feeling these. I probably won't make any more cargo pants this year because this is my third pair. Although these may not necessarily have that cargo look because I didn't do all of those cargo pockets. I'm also not going to do the tie at the bottom of the legs. I'm just going to leave those with a little bit of a wide leg. This is such a joy to sew with because I don't need a whole lot of pins or clips to hold things down. Back stitch. I'm going to go over to the ironing board, and first I'm going to serge the edge. So we now have front and back together. It looks super wide because I haven't sewn the front, the center seam or the inseam. Did it out of order of the pattern because I was doing pretty much making my own little, you know, changes. I'll lift it up so you can see me and keep me in view. Head over to the iron, and I'm going to press that seam to the rear of the pants. It's coming along. It's coming along. I may end up wearing these pants. I'm going out with friends tomorrow to our local seafood spot. I may end up wearing these tomorrow. I'm so excited for them. Now that I've done the side seams, it looks like a lot of fabric, right? But that's because I haven't sewn the back or the inseam together. So that's the back rise. So this gets to be a little bit complicated. Let me go over to my table here and pin things together. So I'm going to start with the inseam. So that's basically this inner part of your leg. So that's what I'm pinning now over on my table, is that inseam. So I'm going to start with pinning the front and back inseams together. And then I'm going to come back and do the front rise as well as the back. I'm not going to clip it all the way down because, again, this fabric is so easy to work with. Once I clip it a little bit to get started, I'm usually pretty good. So you can start to see that those are the leg pieces that I am going to sew up. When I first started sewing, I started with self-drafted pajamas. I used my own store-bought ready-to-wear pajamas, and I traced them. I just traced them and I sewed them up. It was not easy. The part that wasn't easy was when you look at pants construction, it isn't intuitive. The way that you have to, depending upon the way that you do the legs or the rise and all of those different things, sometimes you have to fit one pants leg inside the other and all of those different kinds of things. And it made no sense to me at all. It makes sense to me now, but it made no sense to me at that particular time. I say trust the process and just follow along, and it does really truly come together. But it didn't make sense. It wasn't necessarily intuitive, and that's not just for pants construction. I actually find for many pieces of clothing, it doesn't necessarily make sense. Plackets sort of makes sense that you would fold it in. When it's time to do yokes on the back of jackets and shirts and things like that, that part didn't make sense to me either. I just say trust the process. I love YouTube because you can usually find a sew along. You can usually find a sew along for a particular pattern that you may be working on. And if you don't find that particular pattern, if you just Google putting in, say, a fly in jeans or something, you're going to find some sew alongs that will make it fairly easy. Um, and that's what I do. It doesn't have to be a real sew along for a particular pattern that I'm sewing, but you know, if I need help on how to do like a burrito roll for, you know, a shirt or something, there are particular videos that I have saved. I don't need them now. I feel comfortable doing those because I've done quite a few, but there are particular videos that I've done that I will just go back to and as a refresher, or like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that part, and I'll go back and look at those. I actually demonstrate the burrito roll on the Burberry knockoff jacket that I did, shacket that I did not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago. Y'all, I hope you saw my fabric haul because I got some knockoff Louis Vuitton fabric. Woo-wee! And somebody actually recommended on my on the fabric haul right here on YouTube a pattern to use for it. I'm trying to remember what pattern they recommended because it was the the Diane von Furstenberg's wrap dress. They said it would look really good with the Louis Vuitton fabric. And I don't know if I want to do that because the DVF dress to me is classy and it's something I want to wear for a nice event. With the Louis Vuitton fabric, I want to be able to use it just for any and everything. So if I do the DVF wrap, I'm going to make it shorter, and I'm probably not going to put long sleeves on because I want to just be able to put it on and go out to a cookout or something. All right, so we have legs now on our pants. It's starting to finally look like pants. I am going to serge the inseams, making sure I have nice clean seams throughout. I tell you, how many times have I dropped these snippers today? Let me do the other inseam. Okay, so we have pant legs now. All right, the instructions after they have us sewing the inner leg seams, they want us to stitch the remainder of the crotch, which is basically the rise. So still keeping everything right sides facing. Starting with the back of the pants, I'm going to line up raw edges. I am going to actually clip this one. Lining up raw edges, lining up my notches. And you can see from my notches that I actually have my notches on the outside and I didn't snip into my fabric. That's all a personal preference. I can get a little bit handsy when it comes to cutting into seams and So I generally do it on the outside, and then this less risk that I'm actually going to cut further into the seam than I really want. As you're beginning to close up the crotch area, you do want to pause and make sure that those inner seams there match up before moving on. So I want to put a pin there for sure, or a clip. I have hurt myself so many times with pins that pins are not exactly my go-to when it comes to sewing. Just not. Now, as I get to, because you're going to stitch around, it says stitch the crotch seam to notch on the front. As I get to the notch on the front, this is where you may remember, if you were here the whole time with me, that it got a little bit dicey. So I'm going to actually put a pin here. Hold on one second, my daughter is calling me. Sorry about that, guys. I actually was only going to go until noon, and it's actually a little afternoon. So I'm going to do as much as I can. We may not finish up today. I may come back in another day or two and work on the waistband because we're almost done. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now that I've pinned it up, and I'm going to stitch the back all the way down and around. My baby girl needs a ride to get her car repaired, so I would love to stay on and finish up, but I want to make sure I can help her out today. I promised I would take her to the shop or pick her up from the shop, whatever she needs. All right, I'm getting close to where the inner leg seams are, so I want to make sure that those are touching. Of course, no one's going to see your inner seam, but I still want them to touch. I want them to be completely lined up. So, of course, you could tell I slowed down a little bit here. And this is the only little area that I'm a little bit concerned about, is where you guys saw me do a lot of unstitching earlier today. And I'm hoping that I won't have to do too much of that around the little crotch area in the front. It would just not let me be great earlier. So I'm going to go all the way up to the other stitch. I'm not going to back stitch yet because I want to make sure that it is okay, because I did have so many problems with it earlier. Oops. I threw my pin, one of my pins, into my clip bin. That's a problem. All right. So the rise has been sewn, the back's been sewn together. Let's flip it inside out and take a little bit of a peek. All right, I need to pull that piece down. It looks so good. It looks so good. All right, I can go back in and go back over and back stitch that. It came together. Oh, I love that when it comes together. I'm so glad that I'm gonna do it from this angle. I'm so glad that I took the time earlier and unstitched it until I was happy with the way that it laid. So I want to make sure I'm following those stitches as I go back over and put in a back stitch. I'm all up in it right now, making sure I get into that little tiny little space. Back stitch. Yay! 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 Get rid of some of these extra little pieces of thread. Oh, guys, you don't know how happy I am when it all comes together like that. That looks so good. Yes, that looks so good. I am now I need to serge it. So let me go ahead and give it a good serge. And then I'm gonna double check with my daughter on what she needs. Let me send her a message. So I'm gonna see if she needs me. If she doesn't, then I'm gonna maybe continue to sew because I'm just excited the way that it all has come out. I'm gonna go ahead and serge that crotch area gently and carefully. Y'all, I'm so excited about the way it came out. Okay. Yay! All right, clean up those extra little pieces of thread. I will do a press. Yeah, y'all, it looks really good. I'm loving this. I love the way the pockets turned out. So what I am going to do is go off camera just for literally a minute. I'm going to step to the other side of my room. I am going to slip off my pants. These are me mades as well too, a pair of my favorite comfortable ones. And then I'm going to come back and do a little bit of fitting work with you before I move on and see if I'm happy with the way that the fit is at the waistline. So let me do that very quickly and I'll be back in just a hot second. These are so pretty. So pretty. All right. So here I am and doing my little bit of a fit. Let me put a pin in here to close the wrap front. Now remember, I still have to put a waistband on. And as I think I may have shared with you guys before, I had to take a little bit off of the other pants. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. So these are larger than I want them to be. I do like the way that the legs look because I wanted that loose leg down there. So I like that. I like the length. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back and just as I had to do on the other pants that I made, I'm going to take in the side seams. I'm going to take in the back here at the waist a little bit. And I'm going to take in a little bit here at the hips. So let me take them off. But, oh, they're so cute, guys. They're so cute. Let me slip on my pants again. Want to be completely decent on YouTube. So I figured I would have to do those kind of adjustments because that's been the case. I usually upsize for my hips. All right, but these are normal adjustments that I have to make. So I'm gonna take a little bit off of the back. And because this is the third pair that I'm making and I've had to make these adjustments to every single pair, it would stand to reason that it makes sense for me to go back to the pattern and actually make the adjustments on my pattern. So the next time that I cut it out, I don't have to make these fitting adjustments. But on the other hand, I am the type of person that let me turn these inside out. I fluctuate in weight. These are going to be spring summer pants, so that's usually on my lighter side. But in the wintertime, I usually end up gaining a little bit more weight than I like. And I've been already eating better this year. So I'm already at the point that I'm starting to get back to my spring kind of weight. So I say all that to say that I may not make the adjustments to the pattern and prefer to make the adjustments as I'm sewing, because that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. As a curvy girl, I do what I need to do to make the adjustments. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I took in a little bit of the upper hip area up to the waist. And remember, or I should say, not for you to remember, for me to remember, I have to make the same kind of adjustments on the waistband, which I will do. That's just the way it is. All right, so I took a little bit off at the waist, on the side seams and on the back seam, just at the waist. I'm going to take another little peek to see if I need to take off more. I do want the hip area to be kind of loose and the waist to be a lot fitted. These pockets blend in so well with this fabric, they don't stand out at all. I also wanted to say that for whatever reason, I am not with this particular view, just so you guys, oh, you cut the same pattern out? Good, good, good. Are you doing all of the pattern pieces, all of the different pockets? I did a demonstration of putting on the gusset pocket. You don't need it because you already know how to do gussets. All right, I'm off camera for a moment, guys, because I'm going to try my pants on again to see if I'm getting closer to where I want to be. I still feel like I need to take a little bit in. I don't feel like it. I know that I do. I'm going to take a little bit in, but I'd rather, oops, don't want to show. Well, I have on a sports bra, so it's not a big deal if you see, and I'm not self-conscious about my belly. I think, I like the normalized fat, so people understand it's okay to be who you are. Let me put this pin in because this is where the tie goes. All right, so you can see just from that little change that I made to the pants with the waist, that the waist is hitting kind of the way that I want the waist to hit, right? And I will have a waistband here. The waist is hitting. I like that. And let me feel, I feel like I want, this of course will be flat once I'm done. That little pucker there won't be there. Let me pin that down so it doesn't pucker out now. So that will be laid flat once I'm done. Back pockets, look how nicely they melt. You don't even know that they're there. The side pockets, you don't know. And here is that gusset pocket. It's hitting me right where I want it to hit me. But I'm still feeling like I may want to take in my pants a little bit more right here on the hip side. I don't know. Drop your comment. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? It's going to be fitted at the waist. Of course, it isn't hemmed. So once it's hemmed, and I'm not in a mirror, so I'm going to go look in my mirror very quickly and see. I'm going to talk to you as I'm looking. Oh, guys, she is cute. She is cute. I couldn't tell on the screen, but she is giving. Oh my gosh, guys, she is so cute. Very cute. So I don't really want to take any on the back side anymore off the back side, because I'm going to show you now what I mean. So I went into the mirror and I did a little pinching. If I take more off here, your pockets are going to start to pucker. I don't want my pockets to pucker. I want them to lay flat, so I'm not going to take off any more on the hip. But y'all, she is giving. I like that. I'm going to shorten the waist a little bit. So it's going to come up a little bit higher. I'm going to shorten this some because I am short-waisted. And that takes care of some of the fitting right away without having to take any of the sides in. Yeah. So I'm feeling these. I like them a lot. And I know I'm going to get a lot of wear out of them. And with a fitted tank top, she's going to be cute. Okay, let me go ahead and put my pants back on. Of course, out of the camera view. Yeah, I'm happy with the way that it turned out. There are a lot of pattern pieces. I do recommend the pattern. Just make sure that you are patient as you make your way through. I'm going to take the back end a tiny, tiny, tiny bit more. There's so many seams, and make sure I'm doing the right seam. Just a tiny bit more on the back. Remember, you don't want to take in two more or your pockets are going to pucker out. Waiting to see if my daughter was going to reply to my text to see about me getting her to the dealership. Okay, we have pants. We have pants and I'm loving it. The last thing for the pants, one of the things, we have the waistband that we need to do, and we have the ties that we need to do. So we have a couple things like that that we have left to do. I'm debating now whether or not I want to press through or come back. So I'm just doing a little bit of an assessment on what we have left to do. Hemming is easy. We have 3 parts to the waistband that need to be constructed. We have the tie piece that goes on the front, and we have the end tie that goes on the front. So we have about 5 pattern pieces left to be sewn together. Am I missing anything? I have the D-rings to install. So the only other thing that I might do right now is do the D-ring very quickly. And what you do for the D-ring is you have the loop, which is pattern piece number 27. And let me look at the instructions because I will do it the way I want to do it. So pattern piece number 27, they have you fold the loop in half like, fold the loop in half, right sides facing like so. And then they're going to have us press it. So we're going to sew these together. 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitch. You do want to cut this seam allowance down because since you're going to be turning it out, so this is pretty small, so I'm just going to turn it quickly with my hands. Otherwise, you could just use a seam turner. But it's such a small little piece. Gonna press that flat. And installing the D-ring is very easy, if I could find my D-rings. So those are the waistband, the pants. Did I drop my D-rings on the floor? They're gold. Here they are. So these are the D-rings. I'm using gold. I have black, but I figured I'd use gold this time. And so for the D-rings, you put both of them on and you slip the tab on. And so the flat part of the D-ring is on the tab in this way. And you just baste or stitch those ends down. Get rid of those extra little pieces. And that's your D-ring. Okay, so what I am going to do, good people, is I think this is a good break point. We have actually done all of the hard work. We're going to come back. I'm going to look at my calendar very quickly. Let me look at my calendar. I do believe that today is Wednesday. I do believe that I can come back probably tomorrow. I'm going to say from 12 to 2, and we can completely finish this. And then I can wear them when I go out tomorrow evening with friends. How about that? So I will be back tomorrow at noon for part 2. And we should be done by 2 because we just have the waistband and the tie and those kind of things. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I am going to save this. I am going to post it. This is part 1 of Know Me pattern ME2054, the cargo pants done my way. And then I'll post a reminder for part 2, which will be a short part 2. So that is it for us today, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for all of the likes. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hanging out with me. We've been on here for almost 3 hours. That's a long time. That's a long time. But look how much we have constructed. We almost have a full cargo set of pants done. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.